Back in 2018, Toyota Motor Philippines did what it does best, which is to make other car brands and potential buyers stand in attention with the launch of the all-new Vios. However, there was a very large gap between the fleet version, which is the J and the base, all the way to the beginning of the commercial line, which is the manual E. And that gap starts at over 140,000 Philippine pesos. Well, derived from Latin meaning to move forward, 6 months and a CVT later, Toyota Philippines gives its consumers yet another reason not to stray with this, the 2019 Vios XE. There are obviously similarities between this XE and the G Prime variant, which if you'd like to see, click right here. But there are also differences that are apparent. For instance, the front grille. It's no longer completely blacked out. This one has body color in the center. And the fog lamp housings where it would have been, well, that shape is different altogether. This one kind of mimics more of the tail of a plane. Now it is devoid of any skirts around the car, but it still does have the same two creases on the door, one up here and one down here. What's breaking my heart, however, is the 14-inch steel wheels, even though there is disc and drum at the back. There are no repeaters on the side mirror. They are in fact on the body itself, something we haven't seen in a while. Oh, and speaking of the side mirrors, yeah, no motor, no stick, nada. To move it, you gotta... Which really, it's fine by us, because it comes from an era of... See, there's an entire generation of people right now going, oh yeah, I remember that, while the other generation's going, what the hell is that pervert doing? And they're both probably right. Now, I gotta admit, I do absolutely love the rear. As Jacob puts it, it looks normal. A man of a million words he is. But really, if you do want to read his article on the 1.3 Prime, click right here. Now, even though the rear seats do not fold, you still have 326 liters of space. That's with a full-size spare. Not bad. As many variants as there are of the Vios, there are also that many promos up and down the line available on AutoDeal. And it'll do you well to check them out for the best prices closest to you. No toys for the rear passengers of the XE, just bottle holders on either door and speakers. That's about it. Now you've got elevated seats with ISOFIX tethers, which means that the legroom is pretty good. Headroom ain't that bad. You'd be pushing comfort if you were 3 passengers back here, so it's definitely better for just 2. And one more thing. This center divider, doesn't it remind you of an Xbox? It's pretty cool. Now, there are very many plastics that can be found all around the cabin and not that very many toys for the driver as you'd expect. For instance, you've got a trip computer in the center, but that's all that it really is, a trip computer, and your odometer. That's about it. You've got a touchscreen infotainment system, but it doesn't have a reverse camera or sensors. It does, however, have a 12-volt socket found right here. Kind of an odd placement, you might think, but it is clever enough to be in a position that anyone in the cabin can actually use it. Now, the seats are firm, which suggests that it will stand the test of time, and some of it might be used to find a proper seating position. At least the steering wheel tilts, which is a nice thing. Now, you don't have to be OCD to figure this one out, that the steering wheel and the instrument cluster are a wee bit off. I can live with it, so it's not really a problem. Oh, one last thing. I'll give it to the Vios though. This air conditioner is cold, and I mean really cold. You give it some time, even on a hot summer's day, and you're good. Woo! The 2019 Vios XE is equipped with ABS, EBD, stability control, hill start assist, ISOFIX tethers, and 7 airbags. The 1.3 made it to a CVT, produces 98 horses and 123 Nm of torque, which roughly translates to, well, it's not a hare, but it's no tortoise either. Fuel consumption, well, that's a bit tricky since we don't have a computer doing it for us. We had to do it de mano. We figure 42 liters for a full tank. We traveled 155 and then some kilometers. Most of it was stuck in traffic heavy enough that makes you want to slap anybody. We were able to do 7.3 kilometers to the liter. Vibration at higher speed is actually very low, and it handles pretty well for your average driver. It's the noise that creeps in that will kind of get to you, especially when you're on city roads. It does echo around in here, obviously much less when you're on the highway. There are other cars in Toyota's lineup, like the Yaris and the Wigo, that don't necessarily excite you when you drive it. It doesn't really blow your skirt up, if you know what I mean. Like the XE, it gets you from point A to point B. But see, that's its bedrock. it gets you from point A to point B without fault. And then there's the intercom that you're in the Philippines and you're driving a Toyota. You can really argue that statement all you want until even the cows come home, but in all honesty, it's going to be fact for the foreseeable future. The 2019 Vios XE CVT comes in at 735,000 Philippine pesos. Now I gotta say, it's probably got the manufacturers of the comparison that we did a while back in this exact price range, which you can click here to view, by the way, if you want to see it, scratching their heads. Because believe it or not, it may not top that list, but this thing has over 25,000 units sold in 2018, and it's probably saying, hey man, don't hate the player, hate the game.